What does composition in art means? Yeah. Although in a general sense, any piece of music or writing, painting or sculpture can be referred to as a composition. The term usually refers to the arrangement of elements within a work of art. Okay, so I mean to say it's an arrangement that you put all the things together and then you can see the good composition or not. Okay, if you want to know, then you need to understand the 5 elements of composition in art, like traditional way of looking at art, namely the visual arts. Okay, like what the thing we are dealing with now, or the visual arts, like how you try to put all the things together, and then this is what we are talking about. Visual arts suggests that there are 5 basic elements of an artwork, like line, shape, color, texture, and space. You might find form singled out as a separate category, defined as a 3-dimensional alternative to shape. Yeah. Then, and how about that? Why do we use composition in perspective view? Okay, perspective or composition is all about the relation of the elements, but there's one element beyond the frame, the viewer. Okay? So if in your composition there's a huge version of something typically normal size, it means it's close to the viewer. Everything else is far from them, which creates a sense of depth. Yeah. Composition itself is composed of 2 subjects, elements of art and physical design. The elements of art are the individual components of the artwork. A good composition is one where the artist controls the movement of the viewer's eyes to a beneficial result. We can do this by a number of means, such as reinforcing the focal point with the rule of third, implied lines, contrast of value, and selective color saturation. This is kind of an abstract concept, so let's clarify composition is not the actual subject of your art, but where you put it. For example, you might paint a picture of a dog or a cat or whatever animal you name it, or your pet, and position the dog slightly or the pet slightly off center on the canvas. That's a composition choice. Maybe you are painting a still life of objects on the table. Then you think about it, how you try to put all the things together to get a good and nice composition, and you can create the depth of field for the viewers. Some principles and organizations are like affecting the composition of the picture. You can take notes here. Okay, the first one is the shape and proportion, and the second one is positioning, orientation, balance, harmony among the elements. The area within the field of view used for the picture, or we call cropping. Yeah. And you use the frame. Yeah, if you learn a basic photography, you know you need to do framing. Yeah. And then the path or direction followed by the viewer's eye when they observe the image, and also the negative space. Yeah. And what is composition, and why is it so important in drawing? Okay, drawing is a complex skill. You need to learn things like manual skill, pencil techniques, precision and perspective, gesture, anatomy, light and shadow, and dot dot dot. Yeah. And many more. Yeah. But even when you are the master of it all, even if your picture has all these elements in place, there still may be something wrong with it. This elusive factor is called composition. Bad composition can destroy the entire impact of even the most polished artwork. Yet this topic is often glossed over in drawing lessons, with only a few examples of good and bad compositions presented, leaving it all to your intuition. Okay, in this discussion, what is it actually? What is it made of? And most of all, how can you make sure your composition will pan out before you place your first line, instead of seeing it only after it's all done? Okay, now what is perspective in art? Okay, the term perspective refers to the representation of objects in 3D dimensional space. For example, okay, you imagine, okay, for representing the visible world, okay, on the two-dimensional surface of the picture. Yeah, perspective in art. Okay. Perspective is an art technique for creating an illusion of 3 dimensions like depth and space, or a two-dimensional flat surface. Yeah. Perspective is what makes the painting seem to have form, distance, and look real. The same rules of perspective apply to all objects, whether it's a landscape, seascape, still images, or still life, interior scene, indoor, or exterior scene, outdoor, like the landscape and seascape, portrait, or figure painting. Perspective in Western art is often called linear perspective and was developed in the early 15th century. The system uses a straight lines to plot or figure out where things must go. Okay. Think of it's a light traveling in straight lines. Okay. The Renaissance artist Leon Battista Alberti and architect Filippo Brunelleschi are credited with the invention of linear perspective. Alberti set out his theory in his book on painting published in 1435. We are still using Alberti's one vanishing point system today. Okay? The one vanishing point you are using during your class before this, your foundation drawing, your study, during your foundation study, you are using that one vanishing point. Is already published in 1435. Yeah? Perspective is possibly the most fierce aspect of learning how to paint. The mere word perspective makes many a hand tremor. Yeah? But it's not the basic rules of perspective that are hard. It's the consistent application of the rules of every bit of the painting that's hard. You need to have the patience to check the perspective as the painting progresses and to take the time to fix it. The good news is that learning perspective is like learning how to mix colors. Initially, you have to think about it all the time, but with practice, it becomes increasingly instinctive. That's a fair bit of terminology used in perspective. And if you try to take it in all at once, it can seem overwhelming. Take it slowly, okay, one step or term at a time, and get comfortable with a term before moving on to the next. That's how you master perspective. Yeah. Balance. Balance is the distribution of the visual weight of objects, colors, texture, and space. If the design was a scale, these elements should be balanced to make a design feel stable. In symmetrical balance, the elements used on one side of the design are similar to those on the other side. In a symmetrical balance, the sides are different but still look balanced. In radial balance, the elements are arranged around a center point and may be similar. Emphasis. Emphasis is the part of the design that catches the viewer's attention. Usually the artist will make one area and out by contrasting it with other areas. The area could be different in size, color, texture, shape, and etc. Movement is the path the viewer's eye takes through the work of art, often to focal areas. Such movement can be directed along the lines, edges, shape, and color within the work of art. Unity is a feeling of harmony between all parts of the work of art, which creates a sense of completeness. Okay. Foreshortening refers to the technique of depicting an object of or human body in a picture so as to produce an illusion of projection or extension in space. Foreshortening is a technique used in perspective to create the illusion of an object receding strongly into the distance or background. The illusion is created by the object appearing shorter than it is in reality, making it seem compressed.